Hey there viewers, my name is Torinski and welcome back to another DCSS Sunday. We're currently on the mission to get a victory with every species in the game here. We are 2 down, and now we're moving on to Merfolk, the third on the list. Minotaur went pretty well, as would probably be expected from one of the beginner species, or the most recommended beginner species. And I'm guessing the species that has the most, first victories for players. But we're slowly getting more and more used to playing on stream here, and we're speeding up a little bit. I have a feeling that for the most part, the amount of time we spend on runs is going to go in a bit of a U-curve as we slowly get in the hang of things and get through all the beginner races here. And once we get to the expert, things are going to get a little bit tricky, I think, and they might slow down. But we'll have to see how it all goes. You never know how the random number generator is going to fare for us on our way out. But without further ado here, I guess it's time to start making a new character. We're going to be hopping in as Merfolk. So we took a little bit of a peek at the aptitudes as we wrapped up last time. Really awesome with polearms, really good dodging skill, not great at wearing armor, pretty good at spellcasting in general. With kind of mixed aptitudes in the specific schools, I guess. But Ice and Venom are the big ones, as we can see from the preferred backgrounds here. And I'm definitely interested in playing a little bit hybrid this time, depending on how everything shakes out and what we see going. But I also, at the end of last session, revealed a little bit of my ignorance on how the game has changed, because all the classes, or the backgrounds as it were, that I mentioned being interested in trying out no longer exist. The Crusader got turned into Scald, which then just got completely gone rid of, I believe. Could be wrong, and it could be folded in under one of these other ones. Arcane Marksman kind of gets the same vibes. It's one of the few that's a weapon-based one, but yeah, Charms got removed, Brain says, which makes sense. So I guess with their kind of main school removed, there wasn't much reason for the class to exist anymore. So instead, I think what we'll be doing here is for our first run, where we're trying to keep the streak going. We might be able to get a third victory in a row here if we do our best. So for this first run, I'm going to go with Ice Elementalist, something that I'm fairly comfortable with and a background that I really enjoy the start for. But we're going to be pretty open into delving into whatever fields we come across in the dungeon here, and especially depending on which deity we end up following. Who knows what we'll see. So I think that's what we'll be going with. And Merfolk doesn't do great in my usual naming scheme of just taking the classic species background abbreviations and making names out of them. So I follow upon my second rule there, where we add in some letters or some vowels in order to make the name kind of work. So I think for a Merfolk Ice Elementalist, really stumbled over that word today, we're going to go with Murphy. And very interesting looking start here. I don't think I've ever seen this opening vault, and a necklace right off the bat, so that's pretty snazzy. But alright, time to go into our usual start of the run routine. We're going to be blowing through it a little bit quicker here. We go into our skills, set it as manual. I'm going to turn off stealth. I'm not going to worry about that at this point, even though it could help us potentially avoid some confrontations early on. So we'll maybe think about that in future runs, depending on how this first one goes. But I'm actually going to really dumb it down for now, turn off everything, and get Ice Magic pumping up a bit. By the time I hit level 3, I really want to be able to cast the Icy Ramparts spell right away here. So we're going to go in with that. I guess the other side of it is pickups. And let's just still turn on throwing stuff, even though we might not end up using it quite as much this time around. Should just write down all the letters I click. That'd be a much better thing. But I kind of like showing you guys, especially any new viewers, what exactly we're doing here. So let's start heading towards things. I'm going to manually head to some of these items we see right off the bat here. Don't like that fog randomly appearing right as we pick that up. Seems foreboding, but I don't think anything like that is coded into the game as far as I'm aware. So shouldn't have to worry about that. And alrighty. It's tempting to throw on that axe right away, but we're gonna see. Oops, let's not auto-attack will wield nothing. We're gonna see how long we can last without needing to equip it here. We have 3 mana points, and each cast of freeze costs 1, so if we're not able to kill something in those 3 hits, we can definitely think about running away, or maybe in a panic equipping that axe and seeing if it might be able to help us out. As long as our enemies aren't carrying any weapons though, I feel pretty confident going up against single hobgoblins and the like, waiting a couple turns, hoping that the bat would notice us, but apparently we're sneakier than giving us credit for. I guess starting a Merfolk run, we should talk a little bit about what kind of unique properties we're dealing with this species. And the main one is our ability to transform. So when we encounter some deep water, maybe even I think on shallow water as well, it might take effect. But our lower half changes into our Merfolk ancestry, or the form of our Merfolk ancestry. And it makes boots meld into our feet. Nice, but it also gives us a bit of an evasion bonus and a bonus to stealth as well, I believe. And I feel like there's a third one tacked on there that I'm blanking on at the moment. But it's just important to note that as long as we're not carrying boots that are essential for specific resistances or maybe crazy armor class, we find a really ridiculous artifact. But as long as we don't have to rely on our boots, we're definitely going to be looking to step into water just to make fights a little bit easier on ourselves. I'm also just picking up any weapons I find on the ground for now that are enchanted, because once we feel a bit more comfortable switching through them, maybe have a few more scrolls just in case anything's cursed, we can just kind of deal with or use any kind of what's the word I'm looking for here? I guess just a backup weapon for the time being. We're really going to be focused on getting our spells up to start, and then hopefully by the time that happens and we have an army of ice beasts at our side, we might run into some better weapons and have a bit better of an idea of where we might be taking the run. Hopefully we find a really nice polearm. But okay, we head down these stairs, and this is an absolute nightmare situation with 2 adders, so I'm going to immediately head back up. Not going to risk waking up one or both of those. Let's definitely mark that stairway off. We don't accidentally head down there, so just a little X and then double tap E on that. And now let's head to a different stair. Hopefully it's both far away and safer. Definitely safer. Not exceptionally far away. Ooh, lots of water though. So here's a good place to show off. As we step into the water, we get our little Merfolk tail. I think as we press Shift A, we get a bit of our stuff here. Very nimble and swift. Oh right, it's a movement speed boost. So we're also able to run away from enemies quicker if we have good availability to water here. And stealth will also help us not alert too many enemies. So we'll keep it moving here. I guess for the context on why we're not doing much in the first couple of levels here, if we open up our spellbook, Ice Elementalists don't have any second level spells, so we're really holding out for level 3 for when we get Frozen Ramparts here. And that's one of my favorite spells. They nerfed it a little bit in 0.26, but still not enough necessarily in my opinion, because it's extremely and exceptional just blended in my head there, because it's both those things. Powerful spell and a lot of fun to use as well. Very thematic. Okay, I was hoping we'd get a few more sneak attack kills here, but that is all right. We are starting to steer a little bit closer to those adders, which I don't love. Ooh, hello adder. Don't notice me yet? Now you've noticed me. Okay, we don't have Frozen Ramparts yet, which is very unfortunate. We have 5 casts of freeze here, should be able to take out one adder. But luckily, it's early in the run here, so it's time to just see what Murphy here is made of. Fortunately, if we hit even one freeze like we did there in our first, any reptiles will be slowed. So I guess if things go badly, we could just run away. But things did not go poorly whatsoever, so I'm hoping that's one of the adders we saw before, and that we woke them up, maybe heading back up the stairs, set them into wandering mode. Because yeah, there are lots of kind of hidden subtle mechanics behind the AI of the dungeon monsters here, because they're usually sleeping when you find them, but they get woken up by noise and entering wandering states. There are a few different priorities of targeting, I think, for where they will chase. Also, holy cow, that hunting sling hurt really bad. One thing we'll have to get used to in this run compared to our previous, that was scary. As I was talking and running away, thinking we were all safe here, the adder just crept by in the background. But one of the things we'll have to keep in mind is we're a lot squishier in terms of armor class and that kind of stuff, but we're also a bit squishier in terms of health, because the Merfolk have a just baseline plus 0% modifier to their health values. So, especially in the early dungeon here, things might be a little sketchy. I'm going to take a big risk though. I've seen 2 adders pass by this direction. I'm really hoping they're the same 2 adders. And I'm going to start heading down here, because I know there's another stairway there, and I don't want to run into the adder that just crossed our path. So, time to see if this little gamble paid off whatsoever. I guess I did know we have to make it past the hobgoblin, but that shouldn't be bad. And perfect, it was our 2 buddies that we saw up north there, which does mean we might be down to just 1 adder on the floor. We'll have to see, but I'm going to get rid of this exclusion now that that's all safe and sound. And okay, healed up, but we've hit level 3 finally. So these are still in critical fail, where if we fail them, really bad things might happen. Or maybe this is just the bad things tier, and then really bad is the dark red. Don't really know how to label those in my head or in my tier list here, but 8% isn't too bad, and that will drop pretty quickly. So I want to learn Frozen Ramparts as a bit of a panic button. If we get surrounded by enemies, we're just gonna do our best Elsa impression and freeze everything around us, something like that. And so, oh whoops, I need to hit yes to that first before I start doing stuff here. And perfect. I believe we still have all of our spellcasting macros set up from our Gargoyle run, where we were still doing our introductory runs before we got settled into this Great Player achievement hunting. And so right now we have 4 of our keys set up to cast our first 4 spell slots. If anybody is interested in me running over how to do that again before I'm forced to do so in the run, definitely just let me know, and I'm happy to quickly redo any of those, but I'm sure we'll eventually get enough spells that I'll need to have a few more bindings here. It's only on full hybrid characters that I can really get away. Let it go for Zipid, yeah. It's the mindset you gotta be in. Play nice elementalist. Get your Disney princess on. Okie dokie. A cursed leather armor, not great. Oh, and it's leather, -1 is what I was trying to say. I'm definitely interested in maybe picking up some leather armor. That will be a change that we can maybe eventually pull off without making our spells too rough. But okay, we've got another adder here, and we're still at 8%, but I think we can get away with 1 Frozen Ramparts here. Still labeled as quite dangerous. We'll do it once just to try and show off here. See how it goes. And that should pretty much trivialize any fight. The main drawback that was added in this version of the game is I can no longer move after casting this. Because back in 0.25, it's extremely overpowered because you cast the spell and then you just run away and monsters are forced to claw through the snow and ice and damage themselves. So now it's a little bit more of a last stand mechanic, but it's kind of cool because it synergizes. I guess, yeah, as I move there, we can see in the bottom, the frozen ramparts melt away as we move. But now with Ozukubu's armor, the other level 3 spell that we had the option to learn, that spell gives you an ice armor that gives you bonus AC, and that one always broke when you moved. So now they synergize in a fun way, for sure. But we're going to see how this fares against the worm. Ready to run away because that's a nice slow enemy, so we're not in too much danger, and it's actually a nice kind of benchmark test of our early strength here. And this shouldn't be too bad, so I'm going to try and conserve mana a bit. Early on, our main focus will be conserving what few MP points we have. But as we get later on here, and especially since these same spells, especially Frozen Ramparts, will continue to be useful for a lot of the game here, it will definitely start to pay off in terms of, my gosh, the sentence. My brain is really struggling on how to parse this. I've dug my hole too deep in the wrong direction. I think I need to just back out. Only costs 3 mana. So as our mana pool gets bigger, we'll have less and less problems being able to cast that constantly or consistently throughout an extended fight here. And that should definitely cause a little bit less stress in terms of management in that regard. Hey Railbird, how's it going? Just starting off on our Merfolk here. Hopefully we can get it at least going, get a solid run going, that is, on our first try here. I would love to keep the victory streak going. That would be the dream, definitely. Ooh, didn't even see the adder approaching us here. So I'm going to freeze them a bit. That way if we need to run away, especially while we're in the water, we would have had no problem, but all good so far. Another worm, which is, again, a nice early enemy to fight here. We can hit pretty hard, especially on these squishier classes, but... or backgrounds and species combos, I should say, since classes aren't exactly a thing in Dungeon Crawl. But okay. That is most of D2 cleared. Not looking like we're going to run into an exceptionally early Gold Altar this time around. I'm also not sure which deity we're going to follow either. Gonna have to see. And there we go, D3, we get our first Knoll pack. Fortunately, we have one advantage over them, which is normally a huge danger are these Knolls with their reaching pole arms, but as long as we have Frozen Ramparts, it gets enough square coverage that we should be able to take them out in a couple of turns, but we'll have to see how it goes. I might start the fight here since we're fairly safe to retreat still. And we're down to 6% failure, which isn't bad. Merfolk have melee and bonus in water, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think they do. And I think that was something that I missed in my earlier sum up, so it is quite a few advantages. Yes, definitely move. Okay, so we tried it out, waited a couple turns there, took a couple of really bad hits, so we're not going to worry about starting that fight, at least not from this direction. And instead, we're going to pull a similar move to the one we did on D1, exclude these stairs, and we're going to head off to see if another one is, again, far away and hopefully safer. Looks like it might have filled both those qualities. We'll have to pay attention to auto-explore here, make sure it doesn't take us too far out of whack. And this is our first God Altar with, oh gosh, I've had issues pronouncing some of the monster names in this game. Kiku is a whole nother bag of worms. I don't think I've ever seen this spelled out phonetically for me. If anyone knows and has an idea of how to help me out, definitely always happy to learn things, but let's try it. It's Kiku Bakujaga. Kiku Bakujaga. That's my guess. My best attempt at it first blush here. But not a deity we're necessarily interested in. Definitely a huge focus on necromancy, which we don't have great aptitudes for as a merfolk, and not something I delve into too much unless I'm going into late game runs or have a really kind of thematic run in mind. Calvin says I'm so bad with god names. Well, yeah, definitely. Especially since it's so much like when you read a lot of books, where you don't actually read character names or location names or a lot of the made-up vernacular of especially like fantasy or sci-fi settings. Instead, your brain just learns to recognize it on sight, and you're just like, oh yeah, it's that one. And so doing this on stream, I'm learning a whole new side of how horribly I've disregarded thinking of how most of these names would be said out loud. But okay, got through our first orc pack. Pretty lucky that there weren't any priests or wizards. Always kind of nice here. Now, okay, we got our first phonetical spell in Kyukuba Kudga. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me, Railbird. I always like to add flavor. Is there any like guttural sounds we could throw in there? I don't know what kind of languages exist in the extended DCSS universe. Is it Tolkien Elvish? What about the dwarves? I'm sure not many people put too much thought into the surface world of DCSS, because all that's important is that Orb of Zot and us needing to come down here and grab it. Gotta stay focused. The Kiku BBQ, that's also a good way to sum it up there. But before we go charging in to this Knoll pack again, thinking of what kind of contingency plans we can throw into place. The first of which is maybe to learn another spell here. I do want to make sure to have 4 spell levels available in just a bit here. I might try and hold off learning Ozokubu's armor. There's another name. I just barreled through it the first time I tried to pronounce it this session, but having it in front of me now, I thought I might as well actually take a look and try and do it right. But may hold off on that for now, because Summon Ice Beast is really powerful early on, especially for when we start, which we may right away here, running into creatures that are resistant to ice, because we'll definitely have some troubles getting through those fights. And it's nice to have that wall of summon so we can just throw at the problem, either to help us escape, or maybe to just deal enough overall damage through the resistance. And you know, I may even learn Ice Beast now, because we haven't played too many spellcasters so far, or any in this specific series, I guess, of trying to get a victory with every species. But in order to actually put experience into a spell school, we need to know a spell of that school. So I'm going to get summonings up here, set an early target on it, something not too hard to grab. 6 will be pretty quick, especially since everything is pretty low right now, and I know it seems to be kind of ridiculous to say it's pretty quick when we don't even have a skill at 6 at this point in the game, but as we go through, things will ramp up pretty quickly here. So I'm going to pop that on in the background, and we're just going to try and get that castable, hopefully relatively soon, and then once we have that, we can kind of take a bit of a external view on our skills there, and maybe start thinking of more defensive attributes and that kind of thing. But I'm going to try and split this Knoll pack. We did just manage to grab the one buddy, though they were definitely enough on their own to almost take us out in the first attempt here. So let's do a quick check. There's no chance I try Summon Ice Beast. That seems silly. I think I will do Icy Ramparts. And they take 1 tick of damage stepping in, which is good. Ooh. Let's do a quick check here. 9 damage. Halberds are pretty high base damage things. But it would take like a max roll, maybe even be impossible for them to kill us completely. So I'm going to take 1 more turn. So close. And now this is scarier, because I'm starting to get a little bit, not connected, but what's the word I'm looking for? Concerned, and I care about this character. Brain's really failing me for some of the specific adjectives, but good spot for Amulet of Acrobat. Might have one. That is true. Maybe I should have checked out some of our equipment here, especially since we do have a whole lot of scrolls. Huh. Here's what we're gonna do. We're on a streak here, or attempting our very best to start a streak. So let's play it like that, shall we? I'm gonna retreat, and hopefully we don't run into a Knoll coming from the opposite direction here, because we did briefly run into one down here, or come into sight of one. But seem okay there. So let's keep going back here. I'm taking it a little bit slowly just in case we do run into anything from this backside. And I also don't want to make any silly mistakes in our pathing. But, okay. You know, the Knoll also lost a space on us, so I'm going to Icy Ramparts here. I was hoping they'd take 1 damage coming into us, but that's okay. We're just going to retreat. Oh, hello. I never checked how many downstairs were on this floor. We did have D2 altars, it turns out. They were just very sneaky D2 altars. So okay, this kind of changes things, and we're going to take a little break from dealing with that Knoll, even though I should remember that I do want to check out some of our unidentified objects here before we head back down into danger. But we could join someone here. We could especially think about Che. It's a fun little god to throw in here, and especially I think somebody was mentioning it last time around as one of their top gods. So we could definitely take an early Che. Helps out a lot with the idea of potentially becoming a hybrid, because as Che slows down our movement speed, because that's what Che does, it appreciates slow things, so it will disallow us from increasing our speed with things like potions of haste. But as we slow down, we'll gain really good stat boosts. So with high strength and high intelligence, we're able to cast spells even with pretty heavy armor, which could be interesting. Gets rid of the need to find a spell like Statue Form to give you some kind of baseline defensive ability, while still retaining your ability to throw out these high-level spells. But let's take a peek at the altar, at the very least. Because Cheibriados is a god of deliberation. Those following Che travel more slowly the further they progress in their faith, and are forbidden from using any means to hasten themselves. In the process of so imitating their god, they attain perfection of mind and body, and the mysteries of time unfold before them. Especially devout followers may even momentarily abandon the flow of time and its needless disturbances. So yeah, pretty interesting invocations available with Che here. They take a little bit to get up to snuff, and we have to survive quite a few fights where we're not able to run away anymore because we're going to be a lot slower than everything around us. So yeah, bend time to slow others is one that you get early that I haven't used too much, or I don't have much experience on. But as soon as you gain the ability to warp the flow of time around you, and especially slouch here, inflicting damage on those overly hasty, that is pretty awesome for clearing big rooms, and kind of takes on the role of a blaster caster spell like Ignition almost. Che is hard mode plus easy mode at the same time. Exactly. Definitely a strange god to play here, which we have been liking strange deity choices so far in this series, or at least being more open to them. So let's try it out. I'm gonna join Che nice and early here, which does mean I'm in a bit of a pickle, because that Knoll at the bottom of the stairs, we're no longer going to be able to run away from them. So maybe I should have, what's the word I'm looking for, identified all my stuff here before making my decision, but let's do it. So we got magic regeneration on our early necklace, which definitely not too shabby, might help us out a bit, especially in the early game here while we're short on mana. Oops, did not mean to right click. Ring of Wizardry. Ooh, where does that bring us? Summon Ice Beast is looking a lot closer, still very dangerous. I don't really want to miscast that, but definitely a good character for Che. Yeah, not too bad, especially getting a polearm character I always like, because you can kind of rely on summons a little bit to help you out with not being able to move around. Plus, with stuff like frozen ramparts and Ozukubu's armor, can't move anyway, so not a big deal. So let's try another ring. Ring of ice. That's okay. Protection from ice. That's better. Oh wait, I'm still in the mindset of a brute fighter here. Ring of ice, as an ice elementalist, not crap. Potentially really good. We just have to be very careful of when we run into things that deal fire damage. But I might put that on to give us a little bit of an edge in this combat here. No Ring of the Acrobat, but wouldn't be able to use it, or necklace rather. But we wouldn't be able to use it quite to its full effect anymore now that we're not as fast. I guess just as we take a step, if we look up here, we're now taking 1.3 turns in order to just take a single square, which means enemies are going to be getting double steps towards us and double hits on us constantly if we try and run away. So let's keep that in mind here. And maybe check out some of these scrolls. Oh, you know what? I'm going to take this. So I read our 6-stack scroll here, and it turns out it was teleportation, which might free us from our little debacle there. And instead, we are open to just head over to our initial safe stairway here, and maybe get a fresh start on this encounter completely. So that worked out nicely. I'm going to take a moment though to continue reading maybe a couple more scrolls here, and there we go. We got a scroll of Identify going. And let's check out some potions. Ooh, Identified Kieran right off the bat, which is awesome. That Electro Whip is going to be better than your dagger. You're 100% right. I'm even tempted for the Short Sword of Protection. It's kind of rough because in order to gain the AC bonus, we have to get the hit. But it's still kind of tempting because we've been managing to sneak up on some things, and the backstab damages from short blades is always nice. But let's see, even just the base accuracies. The +2 short sword has a pretty good base to hit. I might try it out thematically. I enjoy this a bit more. The whip seems a little wimpy. Just in terms of the other weapons available. When it's a demon whip, however, oh boy. Trying to think of why. I think it's the base damage that's got my brain in that mindset, even though it's the same as the short sword, so who knows what I'm going on about. But let's go with the short sword for now. Anywho, did get Identify scrolls. I don't have any cursed objects, so I might actually stop reading my scrolls there. Electro plus fast attack speed. That's what I'm forgetting. The fast attack speed is the pretty solid ones. Especially, yeah, the Electro brand just dealing a flat amount of damage, not scaling off of the weapon damage. It's definitely pretty huge. Okay. I've immediately already forgotten which deity we just converted to because I walked up to this buddy and then I started just walking away. Fortunately, it's just a little baby cockroach. I guess baby giant cockroach. But if this were anything tougher, that might have spelled the end of our character. So, good place to get a little mental reminder that we're no longer playing the same way. It is almost unfortunate that we are not able to worship at that faded altar here, because on these kind of silly runs where I'm being a bit more open to gods, it's one of the few opportunities where I might actually be okay with faded altars, but also kind of risky because if that's a Trog altar, could have ended our spellcasting career right there on the spot. And I am very happy to have found Che, the one and true god, of course. I guess, are the Pantheons like Pantheons? Oh, hey Crazy UF. Not gonna bother Crazy UF, even though, ooh, should maybe see if Crazy UF is wearing a nice cloak, because my morals are subject to gains here. No. +4 Quarterstaff of Chaos is both scary and potentially kind of fun for us to take, but I'm not gonna worry about it. And okay, we are done D3 here, but what's a little bit concerning is I'm pretty sure that there are at least two, or at least 3 Knolls wandering about this level that I have not run into. Which we don't want to be retreating from something scary and find those bad boys. Maybe we'll do a quick tour of just this quadrant here. And it seems safe. So I'm going to assume, in a really bad decision here, that this stairway isn't too dangerous. And if we have to go up a different stairway, keep in mind we need to do so early, because we might find trouble at the top. And okay, there's a timed sewer portal on this level. So we're going to explore a bit and try and find those. Holy cow. Turning into a bit of a party here, and the Howler Monkey is going to make a whole lot of noise here. Attract an even bigger crew. Fortunately, Ramparts is incredible. You know, I'll even wait here. Oh yeah, they're going to keep walking towards me. Perfect. And this is all we do now. Try not to move, and just take advantage of the fact that we're dealing extra damage, and our Ramparts kind of do all the work on their own. But let's head to the stairs while we heal, because we don't have any time to waste. We also hear the slow rusting of a distant drain. So distant means it's fairly close. I'm curious if it's this little stone structure. Maybe. Just maybe. So let's head this way. I should move a little bit slower. Ooh, not this structure. Only one of you saw me. Let's see. Okay, that's a different Knoll who's following us now, but guess this is where we make our stand. Okay, that's one down. How are we doing on that summon Ice Beast? Ice Beasts are pretty much ready, actually. Interesting. Well, I'll still take this fight for now. We have the Ice Beast ready in case we need to retreat, because that's the one thing that will allow us to kind of get around our slow retreat speed, is if we have summons in the way, they might be able to slow enemies down enough. But especially now that we've fallen under the domain of Che, we're definitely going to be popping all of our attribute bonuses into intelligence, just worrying about getting our spells as strong as possible, because all of our other attributes will ramp up on their own just fine. Oh geez. I immediately started auto-exploring, and there is a timed portal on this level. Interesting enough, it's still showing up as distant, so it must be kind of central on this right side of the map. I guess I'm going to take this path, hope that it leads somewhere. Ooh. Early artifact dagger, don't mind if I do. I don't know how good my odds are finding this portal, especially with our move speed. I think we kind of missed the boat. Went the wrong way around here when we should have just head straight up. Let's try it. If I head back here. Oh, another Knoll. Hello. Please freeze. Perfect. Never doubted in my mind. Also, I should pick up a halberd just in case. And we'll actually use one of our identifies on this identify scrolls on this dagger right away. +2 dagger, has invocable flight, which may be useful, but nothing too exciting there. Where was the sewer? Because I'm guessing we've missed it. Oh my gosh, this is it. How quick are we? Oh, we're still kind of quick when we're in water. How does Che feel about that? Probably not great. Let's make some noise here though. Turn all the walls to ice, and that should perfect attract the snakes to us here. Speed up the combat a little bit. Ooh, hello. It's so nice not having to worry about food, because that was definitely one of my main struggles. In 0.25, the spell Icy Ramparts is amazing, but early on here, you're definitely not able to abuse it quite as much. This is still open. Perfect. That is lovely. And then we drop into this corner, which gives us very nice Icy Ramparts. Perfect. Want to stay by walls here. How's that? Summon Ice Beast is looking pretty good. I'll risk it once. Let's do it. Go, Ice Beast, go. Even just waking up all the bats was fantastic. I guess we kind of fluctuate between moving at 0.9 and 1.0 per turn in water. Interesting. Didn't know that was available still. I thought Chei would be slowing us down a little bit more than that. Okay, and we found a unique in the sewers. Purgy. Purgy the Meek, an unusually thin troll. Extremely dangerous because 9 plus 8, 17 is definitely a little bit rough here. Can't take too many turns nearby. Evasion none normally. +++. What does it mean? Oh, because he's sleeping. Good to know. I think, at least. Somebody in chat might let me know that I'm completely off base there, but that's what my brain wants to say. Okay, I'm going to risk again 1 Ice Beast, and then we're going to freeze the walls, and this essentially became our ideal situation. I'm even going to switch to this halberd here, and we are going to swing past our Ice Beast. We're going to work in tandem. That was beautiful. Teamwork. So we got some +0 troll leather armor from Purgy here, and that's even better than standard leather armor that I was originally thinking of picking up, so no complaints there. And that's our sewer. Okay, so we just ran into Purgy's home. I don't think I've ever gone this little sewer branch. Just strange, because I feel like I've gone a specific one 3 or 4 times. And actually, that's interesting. How many times have I seen some of these time gates in my DCSS career? How much have they changed over the time as well? I guess I should switch back. No, let's try out the whip for a little bit. Let's try out the different flavor weapons. We're not going to be throwing any points into anything yet anyway, so no harm in experimenting. Interesting. Should probably learn Ozuku's armor, but let's check our Summon Ice Beast one more time before we tangle with a spiked club troll, because that's going to get nasty real quick, or has the potential to at the very least here. Would like to have some buddies available in case the retreat is needed. What other resources do we have here? Fortunately, just a Wand of Random Effects is our only early wand. A net could come in handy. Could force the ogre to take a few turns of rampart damage. But let's take a step back. Let's memorize Ozuku's armor, shall we? Yes, memorize that for now, please, and thank you. And I'm also gonna real quick take a moment to hit the equals key to readjust some letters and readjust my spells. Because personally, I actually want Ice Beasts and Ozuku's armor to switch around. We're almost always gonna, or not almost always, but in a tough fight, we're gonna be using Icy Ramparts and armor. So I want those two next to each other in my macro number keys here, just to simplify things a bit. Do I want to fight this ogre? Probably don't need to. But I also want to. Have the gain the ability to bend time. Which reminds me, fortunately, before we get too much further into our PD gain here, that this time around we also have a god where we're going to have to pay attention to invocations. Because especially by the time we get into that slouch attack territory, I definitely want to be able to throw that out there. Oh, don't need to focus it. Let's just do basic invocations, bring it up to... That one can stay on in the background for a long time. I pretty much just throw out random numbers for a lot of these. No real plan in mind. If we feel that we're not particularly strong enough in any category, we can always rework it in the future here. And with these easier races, it's not as much of a problem to maybe throw a little bit too much experience into one category or the other. I think we'll get through one piece as long as we all believe. Stick together. What else? I think I'm gonna go for it now. I'm gonna start though with an Ice Beast. Tell Ice Beast to attack. Don't love this. Actually, never mind. I do love this. Ice Beast apparently just absolutely destroys Ogre. Oh, -2 Giant Spike Club. Maybe we should have paid attention to that when we saw them. But still probably would have been a bit too scared to walk in myself in that situation. So